We kick off the 2019 Celebrity Series with a bang. We have 8-time All-Star and 2010 Hall-of-Famer Andre "The Hawk" Dawson. Played in the outfield for 21 seasons, 11 seasons with Montreal. Welcome to BB&T Ballpark.
Thank you very much. Happy to be the first.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's always good to be first. But you didn't spend a lot of time in the minors, which is pretty good. You were drafted out of Florida A&M in 1975 and made your big league debut kind of at the end of the 76 season.
Yeah, it was pretty quick, surprisingly. But I always felt minor league baseball was very similar to college. Just the pitchers probably had a little bit better idea and around the plate a little bit more. But you also played against some veterans that are some guys that have been around that knew the game, and you could ask questions. And then you had some younger players. So you didn't really feel that you were out of place. But it was a quick rise for me, fortunately, and I was happy just to get to the big leagues, and then it was just a matter of, well, what do you got to do now to stay here?
Well, what was it like playing in Montreal?
Well, playing across the border was a little different. It had its ups and downs. Entering and leaving the country, clearing customs, the French and English language barrier, food a little bit different, but hey, you were playing baseball. That was top priority, and everything else was just an adjustment.
And for most of your career, you played at Olympic Stadium, which was kind of in that cookie-cutter mold like you saw in that time. What was it like playing there and that playing surface?
Spacious. Didn't really care too much for the surface itself.
Kind of hard, wasn't it?
Seemed like it needed to be replaced every year, every 2 years. But I was young, enthusiastic at the time, and didn't buy into it or pay too much attention to it because there were other organizations, ballparks around the league that had AstroTurf surfaces. So I tried to make the most of it. It took a lot of wear and tear, I think, toward the end of my tenure there in Montreal. But I didn't let that try to enter into my thinking at all when I was out on the field.
Well, after Montreal, you come back to the United States and you play in maybe one of the best ballparks, Wrigley Field, most historic. And you played on a pretty good team in 1989. You guys finished first. You lost in the NLCS to San Francisco. Was that team in 1989, was that probably the best team that you played on?
Not the best team. It was a young team, I think, that overachieved. We had two young outfielders that played critical roles. One wound up winning the Rookie of the Year award, and we just played high percentage baseball at the right time. And Don Zimmer took a lot of chances that worked out in his favor. But I think we were a team that, as I say, maybe overachieved a little bit, but we believed in ourselves. We went out, we took it to the opposition, and we just happened to have a pretty good year.
21 seasons is a lot in the big leagues. Is that something that's maybe not, we're going to see too many players do that moving forward? Well,
there's a lot of money in the game, and players are making a lot of money real quick these days. And it all depends. It all depends on how hungry you are, what the game means to you, what your work ethic is, and how willing and how far you're able to go. It's a tough call, but in a sense, I wanted to play 15 years. And when it came to 15 years, I said to myself, hey, I can still go. I just would like to get the uniform back as opposed to have it taken away. And when, it was all said and done, I was looking back at 20 years, and I knew then it was time for me to walk away from it, give it up. But it was a sense of pride and joy, the only thing I ever really wanted to do, so I just tried to make the most of it.
You played in both the American League and the National League, for the most part in the National League, but you did spend 2 years in Boston. What did you see maybe some of the differences playing in the American League versus playing in the National League?
Well, obviously the games were a little bit longer. The cities were different, and I say that because I really wasn't there that long. But I think the DH kind of, in a sense, played a role. But I like the National League a lot better. I enjoyed those road trips and going on the road and playing in those ballparks. But Fenway Park was a favorite of mine. Fenway, Wrigley Field, two of the more intricate ballparks still in existence. So I look at, I played so long in the National League, that obviously had to be where I enjoyed it the most.
Before we let you go, what do you think about some of the changes that we see in the game now? You hear a lot about launch angle for hitters and playing into the shift. You might have been a guy that maybe saw the shift a little bit. What do you think about some of the, I don't know if updates is the right term?
Well, I think it's been drawn out of context so much now that they pay too much attention to it, and they get players thinking it too much. I played against guys like Willie Starger, Dave Kingman, and they had launch angle and exit velocity, trust me. But today, players are more conducive to change, and they're changing their approach, and that's why you see them getting away from the way the game was played in the past. I take my chances with speed, pitching, and defense.
Well, I know in this ballpark you'd probably hit a lot of home runs. We appreciate you coming out to BB&T Ballpark.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here and look forward to this evening.
All right, we have more to come here on the Knights pregame show, getting ready for the Knights and the Toledo Mud Hens.